Hey, welcome to my journey. This is a little different video. We're going to go over this here. It's not an article. It's a little handout I made. A church I went to back in like 2005. They wanted me to lead a ladies group, discussion about saving money, and then how I did my coupons and stuff, because, it was something they were interested in. And so I wrote this little presentation and I passed it out as a handout, and I thought, since I'm changing, this is frugal because it was made with a reusable coffee pod. So I thought this was a good time. I just want to read it to you, and we'll discuss it if we need to, but a lot of it's self-explanatory, but you can always expound on something. At least I know I can. And this might be a long video. You might have to watch it in stages. That's okay. I don't mind. But I just named it Tips for Saving Money and Becoming Better Stewards Over Our Household Finances. And I'm not going to read the Bible verses that I wrote, Proverbs 31, that's a big one. You can go read that if you want to. But I just want to read it, and it kind of gives you an idea where I came from and where I'm trying to go back to. So we'll just start here. My brother and I were raised by a single mother who did her very best to make sure we didn't feel deprived, regardless of how much money we didn't have. I learned from a young age not to take things for granted and to appreciate everything I had. I also had a mama who was the most contented, unwealthy person you would ever want to meet, and I miss her dearly. She'd always say stuff like, people throw better stuff on the side of the road than I've got in my house. But she never dwelled on it, and she had an amazing ability to make things do. She's the one who taught me to always be satisfied with what you have long before I ever knew it was in the Bible. I guess my upbringing was the training ground for when I grew up and started keeping my own house. I didn't marry into money, so over the years I've had to learn how to stretch a dollar like nobody's business, out of pure necessity. So I'd like to share some tips that have helped me to live thrifty but fulfilling life. These are not earth-shattering revelations, just down-home, old-time ways of living and thinking. As a society in general, we tend to spend excessive amounts of money on materials, a lot of which are much too quickly disposed of and provide a very short-lived purpose or pleasure. We have such fast-paced lives and don't always stop to think before we spend. We often look for the quick fix, not necessarily the sensible one. The extent of what you are willing to do will be directly related to how much money you need to save or how far you need to stretch it. No one else can determine your family's lifestyle for you, but hopefully you will see that happiness and fulfillment is not in direct correlation with having or spending lots of money. It is possible to live a satisfying, comfortable life while saving a little money along the way. And you know what? This is long years before I ever heard of determining your why to lose weight. And this is what I wrote. The first thing you must do is decide why, in all big letters, you want to save money. Just being a better steward of what God has provided is a wonderful reason on its own. But then, what do you want to do with all that cash? And I put some examples like pay off credit debt, stay home with a child or aging parent, purchase a home, pay college or other school tuition, give more charity, save for retirement. Those are just some of the ways. Then you need to decide how badly you want it. How important is this goal for your family? What are you willing to do or do without to make it happen? The most successful thing you can do to save money and live frugally is to change your attitude. Change your relationship with things and opinions and money. This can definitely be a work in progress, especially if you're accustomed to certain ways of doing things. There are many teachings in the Bible regarding our finances, stewardship, and attitude towards money. These are some attitude adjustments I believe are necessary, and then I have biblical references to support them. Number 1, seriously define your wants and needs. We really need very little to survive in this life. The rest is just added comfort or luxury. Learn to live with less and be satisfied. I think sometimes we get used to that comfort and that luxury, and we're uncomfortable getting rid of it. That's where I am now. There are certain things that I'm used to that I've got to learn to do without again. and know that I'll be just fine. Number 2, sometimes we overestimate your own importance. That is, thinking we deserve certain of life's extravagances. Don't lose your perspective. We don't really deserve anything if you get down to the brass tacks of it all. We have constitutional rights, but we don't deserve a mansion. We don't deserve a boat with a house on the lake. You see where I'm going with this? Number 3, this is a big one. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Chances are they're not as well off or happy as you think they are anyway. Be comfortable in your own skin. Ain't that what I tell you? Be happy being you. Ain't that what I tell you? Don't try to live up to some unwritten standard you think other people expect of you. Your true friends don't care, and frankly, others shouldn't even matter. That was long before I tell you that about how you look and your weight and how you feel about yourself. That's not just financial. That's deep down. I want you to really get that one. Now that our attitude's in line with God's Word, let's look at some practical ways of stretching the dollar. The easiest place to save hard-earned cash is on your household food budget. We spend an outrageous amount of money at the grocery store and on eating out, and the prices just keep soaring. Did I know back then how much they were really going to soar? Would we not like to go back to the pricing of 2005? I know I would. So here we go. Eat out less and prepare more food at home. Number 1, learn to cook from scratch. Call your mom or grandma and ask for her recipes. Ask the senior ladies in church how they cook certain things as homemakers. It would probably thrill them that you're interested and be glad to share with you. Also, the internet has tons of recipes to search, and the library has cookbooks to check out. If that's not realistic, learn to cook semi-scratch. Take help from the store whenever possible, like jarred sauces, pre-cooked chicken strips for salads or dinner kits. It's still cheaper than going out to eat. That's what I talked about the other day. I will still take some help from the store because there are some days I'm just not up to a full scratch meal. And it is still cheaper than if we eat out, if I go get something and bring it back in. Number 2, plan. You will be more likely to cook at home if you have some sort of plan in action. It can be a month of menus, a week's worth, or just one day ahead. But if you have an idea of what you're going to cook and have all the ingredients available, pulling the meal together will be much less stressful, and you'll be less tempted to say, forget it, let's go out. Believe me, I have those days. Way back in 2005. I told you I've been planning my meals for years and years and years before I ever went on any kind of diet. Number 3, use a crock pot for the meat, casserole, soup, or even baked potatoes. When you get home from work, you just throw together a few sides like veggies or salad, and dinner's done. You can buy crock pot liners to make cleanup very easy. They would be considered a non-essential expense, but if they'll get you to cook at home, then the expense of the liners is minimal against that of eating out. Crock pots are also very good at turning a cheap, tough piece of meat into a tender, tasty meal. Number 4, keep a grocery list on the fridge or bulletin board in the kitchen. Now I have upgraded to Alexa. She keeps my list. Write down items as you run out of them or as you plan your meals. Nothing worse than finding out at the last minute you're out of whatever. Then try to stick to the list at the store. And this was before they had grocery pickup. So you had to go in the store and be bombarded by all the food. Stay away from your trouble spots altogether. You know those aisles in the grocery store that act like a magnet to your wallet? Like I always tell Holly and David, avert your eyes, look away from the, and then fill in the blank. Number 5, cook with planned leftovers in mind. It's no harder to make 2 casseroles or a double pot of spaghetti sauce or taco meat and freeze half for another meal. Or cook extra rice, veggies, etc. to refrigerate for use later on in the week. Cook packages of chicken and hamburger are big time savers. Cook up big pots when it goes on sale. Pick the meat off the bones and freeze in 2 or 3 cup portions, which is recipe size. Just thaw and add to your recipe. Do the same with hamburger. Fry it with chopped onions if desired and freeze in the same way. You can freeze less, but 1 pound of hamburger cooked and drained will yield about 2.5 cups. You can also pre-soak. Okay, now this is before I learned you can cook dried beans in the crock pot on high, no soaking needed. This was the soaking days before that little bit of info became knowledge. And it's still good now if you don't have a crock pot or you don't like to cook in a crock pot. If you cook on the stove, this is good. You can also pre-soak a large quantity of different dried beans and freeze them in meal-sized portions. That way you can pull out a bag in the morning and let them cook all day while you're at work. That's the crock pot. You cook them on slow. Dry, high. Of course, you can still soak them the night before, but this way you have them ready to cook at any time. Number 6, try recreating your store-bought and restaurant favorites at home so when the urge hits you, you can enjoy it at home. Over the years, my husband has told me that I keep messing myself out of going out to eat because I keep coming up with versions of dishes that he likes better. See, I did used to like to cook. But I'm really lucky in this department because he'd rather eat my cooking at home anyway. You also get many more servings for your money. For example, I can make a batch of buffalo wings at home using the whole 2.5 pound bag of wings for around $5. $5 won't even get you the appetizer size serving at most restaurants. Miscellaneous kitchen and household savers. Number 1, buy in bulk, but only when it's cheaper and you can use it all up. Compare those unit prices. Sometimes bigger is not always better. Also, don't buy huge size if you can't use it up before it spoils, even if it's cheaper, because it's never cheaper to throw food away. For example, a $2 5-pound bag of flour costs 40 cents per pound, whereas a $7 25-pound sack costs 28 cents per pound. The 25-pound sack is obviously cheaper, but if you can only use 10 pounds of it before it goes stale or gets bug infested, then the flour costs you 70 cents per pound. Not a bargain after all. You can also go in together with a friend and purchase bulk size items you both use frequently. Either divide the cost each time or take turns buying the item. This way you both save money and food doesn't go to waste. You can also split the cost of the warehouse membership. Number 2, try to find a use for every scrap of food before you throw it out. Get your money's worth out of everything. Utilize those leftovers. There are several options for making the most of leftovers. You can pack them for lunches the next day, or you can store them in the freezer for later. Periodically, we have a free leftover supper. Thaw out your collection of bits and pieces of meats, casseroles, etc., and you have an instant potluck meal. I also learned to make freezer soup from my mama. She kept a covered bowl in the freezer where she'd collect the leftover bits of veggies like green beans, corn, limas, etc. When it's full, she'd thaw it out, add tomatoes and seasonings, and maybe some hamburger for a real good pot of soup. And it was always so good at her house. Save bread heels or stale bread to make salad croutons, which we just did. Breadcrumbs or bread pudding. Use the juice from canned fruits to make Jell-O instead of water. I did this when I cooked for a daycare and the kids loved it. Freeze bits of fruit to add to blender smoothies. Just use your imagination. You can also scour the internet for all kinds of ideas for turning old leftovers into new creations, just in case your family turns their nose at the trusty old leftover. Don't tell them that yesterday's meatloaf is today's spaghetti and meat sauce, and chances are they'll never even know. Leftover phobia is more of a mind over matter thing anyway. Number 3. Now this one I used to use all the time, and I calculated the price today, and it doesn't really work unless you get a good deal. Use dry instant milk for all your cooking. If you get a deal. Okay, hold on, we'll get to it. You can also drink it, although we've not yet developed the taste for it straight up. However, you can substitute it in your recipes and not detect any difference. A box that makes 20 quarts at Aldi's is $8.99, which costs just $1.80 per gallon. So as long as that is cheaper than a gallon of fluid milk, you will save tons of money and never have to worry about running out of milk. I have used it in my cooking for many, many years and never one complaint. Bonus, you don't have to panic during one of our big K-Town blizzards. That's kind of a joke because we don't get them. The dry milk, the key sentence is, as long as it's cheaper than a gallon of fluid milk. It's not what I got today. It's not cheaper than actual milk. So I keep it for emergencies and some recipes like gravy mixes, which I'm fixing to have to make a new one. Take it. But other than that, it's just a kind convenience to have on hand in case I would need milk and I run out. Number 4, go reusable. Sometimes disposables come in very handy, but try to limit your use of paper plates, cups, napkins, etc. Keep a basket of cloth napkins or thin wash rags in the kitchen instead of paper towels or napkins, and then throw them in with the weekly wash. I'm bringing that one back. Number 5, experiment with name brands and generic or store brands and buy the cheapest one whose quality your family can accept. For example, most store brand cereals taste like the brand names, so don't pay for the name or the pretty packaging, unless of course you have coupons and it will be cheaper. On the other hand, spend a little extra money for noticeable quality. For example, I only use Reynolds Wrap tinfoil because all the other brands I have tried are weak and rip very easily, so I end up using more in the long run. Don't get in the habit of buying brand name items just for the sake of the name alone. Judge products by their quality and performance and use the one that gives you the best bang for your buck. But of course, if you have a coupon and it's on sale and the price is right, go for it. Look for marked down meats and produce or discontinued foods in the grocery store. Just be sure to read the dates on the meats and inspect them for strange colors. Don't be afraid to ask the meat manager when he does his markdowns to see when the best selection is. There's a good chance if you'd been there earlier in the day, you would have picked up the same package but had to pay full price. That's for people who don't want to buy marked down meat. Possibly 2 seconds before you see that yellow sticker, there was no sticker on it and you would have picked it up. 2 seconds later, it was marked down and you'd have had the exact same meat on a cheaper price. So, overripe produce can still be usable. Just check for any mold or other visible problems. Marked down bakery items are another choice. After asking, a Walmart bakery worker told me that they mark down a lot of their stuff while it still has a current sale-by date, so it pays to scan the dates. Just watch your prices, though, and don't pay more for something that you can make better at home, even if it is marked down. This brand name passion also goes for non-food items like clothing, shoes, etc. Calculate the dollar amount you'll spend over and above the basic version of the particular item. Then decide if you'll get that much more use or pleasure or value out of the item to make it worth your extra money. This is when quality is not in question, only the attraction of the name. For example, if basic purse A is $12 and branded purse B is $34, will you get $22 worth more pleasure and use out of the brand name purse? It's your call. Number 6, I got to work on this one. Measure. This sounds very simple, but we mindlessly use more than enough of our household cleaning products by not measuring as directed on the package. Laundry detergent and fabric softener are great examples. You'd be surprised how much longer a container will last if you measure out the correct amount according to your load size instead of just pouring it straight in. Also, turn the bottle upside down after you think it's empty. It will usually drain down at least one more load's worth into the cap. If you prefer dryer sheets instead of liquid softener, you can save lots of money by making your own version. Just take an old washcloth and moderately saturate it with some liquid softener and then toss it in the dryer with your clothes. Just reapply the cloth as needed, and a bottle of softener will last you for ages. Trust me, it will. Other products to be aware of are dishwashing detergent, concentrated cleaners, toothpaste, mouthwash, shampoo, and conditioner. You can also experiment using less than the package recommends until you're satisfied with the results. Most cleaners will work just as well using less. I actually heard a house cleaning lady a long time ago talk about how very little cleaning product it actually takes, especially if it's one you're mixing in the water, to actually be effective. Okay, here we go. I do make an exception for toilet paper. You will not find me separating plies or rationing the squares or buying the sandpaper kind. In my house, you can use as much as you need. See, who said we don't live large? Number 7, avoid impulsive purchases as much as possible. Stall yourself and think about it, and you'll probably find out you don't want or need it as much as you initially thought. When I'm shopping at a department store and even a grocery store, I will put something I just know I gotta have in my buggy and walk around with it for a little bit. 9 times out of 10, I will get over that initial rush to have it and put it right back on the shelf. Seriously try this because it does work. It does. It's that rush, that adrenaline you get from purchasing something, and then when you have time to think about it, you're like, well, I really don't want to spend the money on that. I have avoided wasting loads of money by doing this. The best remedy is not to go in the store at all, but that's not always possible. I did this with my daughter, and it works with her as well. She does it to this day. Spread the word. If you're in the market for something, let people know. Many times you have friends who have one of those. They let you have for the asking. Borrow things that you'll only need a time or two instead of buying them or buy them used. Shop at thrift stores. If you've broken or lost a part of an appliance, other items before you rush out to buy a new one, check the thrift store. It's amazing the goodies you can find there. It may take you a few tries before you find what you need, but things have a way of turning up at the junk store because people get rid of everything imaginable. Do I even need to say it? One man's junk is another man's treasure. Here, number 8, it says, use coupons, one of my personal favorites. I have a handout devoted to this just because this is where you can really save some serious money. I don't do coupons anymore because I don't have a source for them like I used to, and it's all the stuff we don't eat anymore. I might find one here and there, but I wouldn't be the big coupon queen I was then. All the free stuff I got, all the next to free stuff I got, it was a huge hobby and game. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. There are 1,000,000,001 ways to stretch or save money. The internet has tons of sites devoted to just that very thing. Do a search for frugal tips or cheap living and pack a lunch for the day. You can pick and choose what works and what doesn't for your family, but don't forget your biggest asset is going to be your attitude. Bottom line to saving money is to exhaust all other means of getting by before throwing away your hard-earned cash on anything, and have fun doing it. I said commit the following page to memory. There will be a test next week. Here it goes. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. So that is what, and I have some reference sites down here, but I don't know that many of them are still, active because it was so long ago. But there you have my little discussion I gave my ladies group. There are some things in there I was going to talk about in another video, which it doesn't hurt to drive things home because sometimes you don't get it and then all of a sudden it clicks. You're like, yes, I needed that tip. And maybe you heard it 10 times before, but it just didn't settle in somewhere. And then that 11th time you're like, yes. So anyway, I hope you got something from that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it makes you think about things differently and makes you want to go on a frugal journey with me, because it is fun. It is fun learning, like, something's broke and you can fix it with some other little something you might was gonna put in the trash or something. Stuff like that's fun. It's like a game. So anyway, well, that's it for my, what do we say, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without TED Talk. So there you go. I'll see you when I see you.